Peter, I wish that we were talking under different circumstances, but, I had Oscar Kitely on the show yesterday. I love my brother Oz, and just, wanting to chat to somebody that's obviously got a bigger insight into this than me, and to provide our listeners. Can I say a couple of things? I love the idea of MP, man. I mean, I want this team to succeed. I want this project to work not just on the field, off the field as well. I think the whole kaupapa, if that's the right word, behind it is exactly what it should be. And then to see it just so, well, it is failing at the moment. And then when Aaron leaves and you got your best player, Levi, leaving and stuff like that, it just, it's I can't use the word heartbreaking because it's obviously not that dramatic, but you know what I mean? It's just disappointing, man.
Absolutely, Marty, and thank you for having me on your show. And I sit in the same boat, and I've been talking about and supporting Moana through the radio show with Zens and covering their games. But off the last month, I've been hearing murmurs that one, that Aaron was going to leave, and then two, that Levi was on the verge of leaving as well, and to be signed by one of the franchises. Like you, I agree. The concept and the kaupapa behind Moana Pasifika is one that we've been waiting for a long time. But I think it's starting to unravel and kind of in the understanding of where does it stand in terms of a Pasifika team. Because at the moment, what I've seen, and it was always our talk amongst probably other Pacific Island players keen for this concept, was if it's still tied to the New Zealand Rugby Union in some way, then it's going to be hard for the team to grow it and grow its own legs and kind of have its separate identity. So I think that's where we're at the moment, and we're seeing that these players, and it's no fault of the players, it's just, I think, the understanding of clearly where this team sits in terms of helping the Pacific rugby nations, and also being in their own two legs at a competition like Super Rugby Pacific.
How financially viable is it right now and then for the next year or two? Because essentially it's got to be able to pay its bills, pay its players, and keep itself financially afloat.
That's been our biggest time around it. Is it needs that significant investment. I feel that they must be still okay to cover through the next couple of years, but in terms of longevity and sustainability, I think it needs a significant amount of investment from someone that so it can stand alone. I really feel, I'm not sure from the background how much influence we have from Tonga and Samoa rugby unions, whether they sit within this organisation, and how much say of maybe some of the former players of Manu and former players of Ikale to kind of have an influence to understand where this team and their vision is at.
And it's always an awkward subject as well. And I go back to the Rugby World Cup here in 2011, and the players were just about, the Manu Samoan players were just about to riot. They saw the officials all living off the pig's back and everything. And where does that money go? How is it distributed? And then you get questions about, okay, does World Rugby need to stump up? I believe so. Then there's got to be accountability for those funds and who's spending them and where they go and so forth. New Zealand Rugby, I can understand the apron strings have got to be cut, but at the same time, they've got to be cut when this is on a financial level, when it can support itself. Peter, I look at it in terms of like women's rugby. I love women's rugby, and I know that, hey, if you're investing 20-something million New Zealand Rugby, that money's not coming back to you, and it's not coming back straight away. It might take a long term, and I feel that this is in the same department store, different floor. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, I do, because I always I look at how the Sunwolves ran, and they struggled for those first couple of years before they come right. I think it was either the third or fourth when Philo had the side, when Philo Titia was the head coach, and they started to get some of the top players from Japan actually playing for them. And I think that's where it still sits with us here with the Moana team. I think it really does. I really feel these players, there's half of probably the squad that are handling this level well and are proving themselves week in, week out. Probably the other half still needs a little bit more development, and I feel that probably Super Rugby isn't the best at the moment for them. But I totally agree that they do at some point will need to stand their own. I understand the coming from New Zealand rugby is really important still, but it is around building capabilities of those that can, and who are those people to really stand forward to help Moana actually get to that place, which will be more significant for our people compared to where it's at the moment.
Pita Alatini with us on the platform. We're discussing MP situation at the moment. The other thing is, and I know that Aaron has said, and the murmurings out of MP saying, hey, look, the losses aren't the reasons and they're not affected. They have to have some impact, don't they? I mean, just as you as a professional athlete, these guys don't go out there to lose games. They go out there to win games. And when you start losing and losing and losing, that climbs on top of you. It's like any high performance activity, occupation you're in. If you're doing a show like this and there are no listeners, there are no ratings week after week, month after month, it grinds you down, man. It does get you, right?
Absolutely. I agree with Marty. And look, and Aaron knows that, Aaron knows this is high performance. So we know that at the end of the day, as much as you're wanting to develop and there's patience around it, there's got to be also some high performance based KPIs that you have to live by, and winning is one of those. And it's tough. we know this area is tough, and every coach understands that when they take this position on, there's got to be there's got to be results behind it to see that there is growth going forward. I see there has been growth in the last 2 years with some of these players, but unfortunately, we still need results on the field. And we've had 3 or 4 opportunities where we've put ourselves in that position. They've put themselves in that position, and we haven't been able to nail those. And that's probably been the key driver in Paul Az's sake. But look, we understand, mate. It's a tough position to be in, and I think he's done a fantastic job. Both him and Philo, I can see from the outset in terms of some of the growth of the players. It's just a hard position to be in, unfortunately, to not be able to pick up wins. And it does. It gets tough. I don't care what everyone says about, we're having fun, but fun, honestly, the real fun is when you actually win it. When you win in that space, it becomes more fun.
Look, I know, and I wrote down, that first game of the season, leading the whole way against Ndrua right up until, and I just wonder, clinching that game, what that would have done, just momentum-wise. And, sitting here now and saying, hey, look, we've got to win against Ndrua. We knocked the Blues off. Even having those two in the bag, the conversation would be different, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think so. There's those games where, I think the Force was another one. They could have been the only team that been the Force over there when they had that lead. And there's a different conversation when you've got a couple of results under your belt. It'll be a different mood for the boys. There'll probably be better self-belief amongst the camp, and then the coaches can really drive on that and ride on that for the rest of the season. But it is unfortunately it is the conversation that's had, and I just hope. I think one of the pressures to me is around the drivers of the game up top, more the board, and where do they see, how do they see this unfolding and actually getting improvement, because we're losing a pretty first class coaches and Major. So who is next to step into to really be able to fulfill that? But I think there's a top end part where the responsibility lies as well.
It's got to be a learning, curve as well throughout this, because when you start something new like this, none of us, you might have all the best wishes in the world, but we don't know how it's going to unfold. Is it actually feasible and realistic and possible at the moment to say, hey, we want a professional side that's in this hard-ass competition winning? At the same time, we want to go back to our islands and develop players there. Is that just a bridge too far at the moment? Does it have to be one or t'other at the moment?
I think it is a bridge too far at the moment, because there's no resources to fulfill what we want back in the islands. Not only resources in terms of investment, but also resources and capabilities of people back at home to be able to do their job. I sit back and this is my personal opinion around, I sit back and I just see rugby really dying in Tonga. Half of it is that the players are all leaving or getting scalped at a young age, whether it be Japan, whether it be UK, whether it come here. And then there's the next percentage down now is all going to do fruit picking because they need money for their families. So there's a whole heap of young, talented rugby players as well in the islands. And because the programs and there's no structure back at home to keep these kids, they're all leaving to find earnings from elsewhere, and fruit picking is a huge one. And talking to my cousin in Tonga, it really is destroying the local game, where we've got players at levels that are just they're just not feasible to be able to play at this kind of level. And we've seen that even with Tonga A, Marty, when they played in the recent competition in Samoa, and they were being hammered by 50 plus by all the teams, Japan A, Samoa A, and Fiji A. So there is really some deep concerns back in Tonga. So when I think about the players back at home, how do we be able to do that? One is investment, the other one is resourcing of capability, people to really run the structure back at home.
What is the future then? What is the immediate future? If the season ends and there's no wins, look, there's no hint of the team being taken out of the competition or anything, but there's got to be some improvement on all kinds of levels, and these dots have got to be connected. What do you see as the immediate future to the calendar end of this year and then going into next season?
I think for me, it's obviously now is finding the coach that's going to take them forward. I'd like to see. I love what Philo's been doing in there. Is he the one that gets promoted up to head coach with the rest of them, and we find other up-and-coming pathway coaches that will be able to fulfill the spots that are vacant? I'd like to see maybe some more future coaches or investment for other coaches coming from Tonga and Samoa that are included in that coaching group. We have to keep all the ones that are available, especially, the players like Funaki, Omatonga, Miracle, Whailangi. We need those players. There's a strong group in that's developed over the last couple of years. We need them to go another third year. Losing Levi will be huge, but we need the rest of those players. And is there enough room in there to kind of entice some of the more prominent players that we're able to get? Is there money for Luatua? Is there money there to I know that Pita's gone across to Japan, but is there any guys in that significance kind of space that are still at a height in their performance to be able to really add value? I mean, it was great to have Lela Whānau and also Sekope. But, Sekope hasn't played pretty much this year. Lela Whānau has been strong. I've been always impressed with them. But have we got a few more of those players that are available to come to really bump this group that's had a 2 year in this competition to really kind of thrive next year in this comp rather than just surviving?
Well, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts, mate. And look, and I'm hoping that, and it's not a oh woe is me thing, and it's not a hey look, we're outpouring sympathy here or anything like that. I mean, it's actually just, to me, it's just real. I mean, I want this team to succeed because I love what it brings, and I'm just hoping that the fact that the conversations are open and honest about it, and that people are talking about it, which means that we care about it. That is, as lame as that sounds, that's hopefully kind of a good thing. I mean, because if nobody cared about it, well, then what the hell? But I mean, at least people are. I mean, we are. We're bloody genuinely concerned, mate.
Absolutely, and that's been the discussions I've had across the board with everyone in tech. We do care. We just want to make sure that there is some actions behind this care if this team is to go forward, and it deserves the recognition it does, mate. And I do, especially for the players and the management, I do feel for them and kind of throw support on the other ends to challenge them to really prove their worth and their help.
Hope people remember what a great player you were, man. God, you were good. Your step was brilliant, man. You were fantastic to watch, brother. I always love watching you play, man.
Thanks, Marty. Always a pleasure catching up with you, brother. It's always so good to hear your voice, and keep championing everything you're doing, my man.